Hello everyone and welcome back to the World Blitz Championship. It's Baadur Jobava versus Magnus Carlsen. After Carlsen's draw against Abdusatorov in round 6, he had his first loss since he arrived in this championship. There's a B3 already on the board, well, he lost to Dmitry Andreikin, and then he quickly bounced back with another win against Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. I don't think Magnus ever lost a blitz game to Mamedyarov. I could be wrong, but he has like a really insane score when it comes to blitz games. But here it's Baadur Jobava, who is always a very exciting player regardless of the time format, and who is especially deadly with the white pieces. So let's see this game and what it's all about. Jobava goes for B3, the Nimzovich-Larsen attack. We have G6 by Magnus, bishop to B2, knight to F6 now. And here comes the bishop captures on F6, a very rare system that I've never actually seen anyone play, especially in such top-tier competition, but that's why they're here, and it's a blitz game. So E captures on F6, and now C4. Magnus replies with the D5. We have C captures on D5, Queen captures on D5, and Knight to C3. Developing with tempo, the Queen is under attack, Queen back to A5, and now A3. With ideas of pushing the Queen even further back with B4 at some point. We have C6, preparing this maneuver to bring the Queen back if needed. E3, and now there is a game where bishop to G7 was played and bishop to F5, but here we have F5 by Magnus, and it is already as of move 8 that we have a completely new game. So Jobava continues with G3, bishop to D6, Magnus continues development, bishop to G2, and now knight to D7, going for F6, where the knight will be able to go either to E4 or G4, depending on what black plays, even D5. We have knight G to E2 and knight to F6 now. Jobava castles, Magnus castles, and now finally B4, kicking the queen back to the starting square. Queen back to D8, and here comes D4. So okay, the position is pretty much becoming a normal one. Queen to E7 by Magnus, developing the queen. Now the bishop and the rooks will be developed. Rook to B1, preparing B5, and here Magnus even forces it with A3, A5, which is a good decision since, if B5 is played, then you grab the A3 pawn and you create a passed A pawn, which is what Carlsen wants. But Jobava doesn't mind. He pushes B5. We have bishop captures on A3, pawn captures on C6, pawn captures, and bishop captures on C6. So it's a trade. Magnus has his outside passed A pawn, whereas Jobava has a passed D pawn. So we're gonna see whose pawns are faster. We have rook to A6, attacking the bishop. And here, a nice trick by Jobava, knight to D5, which saves the bishop and also forces a trade here, as the queen is under attack. So knight captures, and bishop to B4 now, taking away the C3 square from the white knight, and also preventing the rook from doing any lifting here. We have knight to F4 by Jobava, and bishop back to D6 now. We have queen to F3, so if the knight is captured, you can capture back with the queen, and A4 now. Now Magnus starts pushing his passed A pawn. We have rook F to C1, and now even A3. And here, bishop to A2. This is the blockade Jobava wanted to create. The bishop will now prevent the pawn from being pushed any further. The rooks are nicely placed on open B and C files. The knight is on an excellent F4 square, and the queen can pretty much go wherever she wants. So we have rook to A7. The rook will be helpful with the defense of the 7th rank. And knight to D5 now. The queen is under attack, and you want to keep an eye on the F6 square. So queen to D8, and now H4. Jobava is coming for Magnus with bishop to E6, now countering white slide square bishop, and king to G2. It's maybe a bit dangerous to put the king and queen on the same diagonal, as Carlsen still has a light square bishop, but it would take him some moves to remaneuver the bishop over there. And the Jobava has plans of just trading it off. So H5, Magnus doesn't allow Jobava to push H5, and knight back to C3 now, offering a trade of light square bishops with bishop captures, knight captures, and now rook to C7. Carlsen wants to trade down and enjoy his passed A3 pawn. Queen to D5, and now queen to a8, offering a queen trade. Here, Jobava trades with queen captures on a8, rook captures, and now rook captures on c7. We have bishop captures on c7, and now it's an endgame. The position is really wild. The material on the board is equal, but it's a bishop against a knight, and we do have play on both sides of the board, which means that black should be a little bit better here. King to f3. Already, you have to start activating your king. You cannot go through here because the pawn and bishop cover, create a wall against the white king. So king f8. We have king back to e2. You're gonna go up the board this way. Magnus will do the same, but first bishop d6, defend the pawn. So now the rook can be activated. King to d3, and now king e7. We have rook to b7 with check, just king e6. We have rook to b6, pinning the bishop. And we have rook to a7 now. Now the king will use the 7th rank to approach the rook on b6. King to c2, the white king is now approaching the pawn. King d7. We have king to b1, and now king to c7, pushing the rook back. Rook to b3, and now Magnus, very confident in his endgame skills, decides that he wants to trade rooks here. So king c2, if the trade happens, Jobava wants his king to be on a bit more active square. Rook captures with king captures, and now king to c6. We have knight to c3. Now Jobava creates a wall against Carlsen's king here, as you will not be able to approach the position. And Magnus goes f6. He wants to push g5. So here it's like I said, it's the game is on both sides of the board. So bishop is a bit better than knight, but Carlsen has a doubled f pawn, so that goes in Jobava's favor. King to c4, the knight nicely guards the a2 square, and now g5 by Magnus. And of course, Jobava doesn't want to undouble Carlsen's pawn, so he pushes f4. And Magnus doesn't mind closing the position, since all of the pawns here are on dark squares, and Magnus has a dark square bishop. So here, king to b3, and Magnus just plays a bishop back to f8. And you know, realistically, you should you can agree to a draw here. If you put this to any computer, it will just tell you 0-0-0. But that's easier said than done. This is a blitz game. Both of them are very low on time, and you know the clock is ticking. So here, king to c4. You just prevent the black king from approaching. Your king is on a nice light square. The knight guards the a2 pawn. Nothing is happening here. However, after Carlsen's bishop to f8 move, Jobava played knight to b1, which means that he should win this pawn. And after he wins the pawn, he's up a pawn, and well, could be even winning. Problem is, this little maneuver cost him the game. So feel free to pause the video and try to find this legendary move the title speaks of, while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on if you paused the video and found it. You are an excellent spotter of legendary moves. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's bishop to b4. And it's interesting, Magnus played this move instantly. So I think he kind of played bishop to f8 to try and trick Jobava. So here the problem is, if you capture the bishop, a2 wins. There's nothing you can do. Next to move, if you move the knight, just a1 queen. If you don't, just pawn captures with queen. On the other hand, if you play knight captures on a3, then the bishop infiltrates, bishop to e1, and you eliminate all of the black pawns, and then you just queen the h pawn. So Jobava said, okay, nice little trick, but I'm not interested, knight to c3. However, this doesn't help Jobava. Here, Magnus just continues with a2. It's again the same problem. If you play king captures, bishop captures, and you win a piece, now you're completely winning. So after a2, Jobava had to play knight captures on a2, but now bishop to e1. And this is where things go really wrong for Jobava. He played king c4, but now it's just a feast for this dark square bishop. Bishop captures on g3. Knight before check, we have king d6, king to d3. Now bishop captures on h4. Now you have two connected pass pawns. That's just deadly. e4, we have captures with check, captures, and bishop to g3. And now Jobava played f4 here, but Magnus played h4. We have knight to d5, and here Magnus just played h3, and it was in this position that Baadur Jobava resigned the game, as the h-pawn is queening, and there's nothing you can do about it. The bishop and pawn create a wall here, well, not like that, but like this, against the white king. So the white king is helpless in helping out with the preventing the pawn from queening. And if you do anything else like captures h2, you can even capture this one, but still you queen with check, and if you didn't queen with check wouldn't really matter. But there are no tricks, and Jobava resigns. So impressive game, and when he had everything, he just had to play king to c4, but then you know, it's what they call the Magnus effect. From nothing something happens. So yeah, that's one of the games I also decided to show you. I do hope you enjoyed it, and do remember this little tactic. If it happens in your own games, you know, avoid it, and if you can use it to win, then win a lot of games using it. I would like to thank Dalibor Yaklin for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the World Blitz Championship for the next 2 days. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your Sunday.